Welcome back to Community Voices from Radnor Studio 21. I'm AnnaMarie Jones, and over the next couple shows, we'll get to meet the candidates and incumbents running for Radnor Township School Board. Municipal elections are not until November 5th, but it's never too early to start learning who's who and why they are running. In the studio today are Democratic candidates Liz Duffy and Bradley Moore. So Liz and Bradley, thank you so much for joining me today. And ladies first, if you don't mind. All right, Liz, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. I'm so happy for you to be here. So the first question is, and I'll repeat it for you, Bradley, afterwards. No problem. How is membership on the school board compatible with your past or present position, or if you're not working right now, work-life experiences?
I think the first thing that has prepared me for being a school board member is the fact that I'm a parent of 4 Radnor-educated children. My oldest daughter graduated in 2017, and just last year I had a child in an elementary school, a middle school, and the high school. So what that really means is it gives me a firsthand perspective and current perspective of what's going on at all levels of the Radnor educational experience. And I think the way that translates is when I look at goals, when I look at our district goals, what's currently in place and then in the future as we develop them, they mean something to me very personally. I know where they're coming from, so I think that would be, serve me well in the capacity of a board member. I also, in my professional life, I spent 15 years in marketing and brand management. And in that capacity, I was responsible for developing plans, marketing plans, writing objectives, our visions, developing strategies to meet that, and then being held accountable to deliver on those goals and objectives, and making sure that we had measurement tools to properly evaluate those plans. And I think that those skills will serve me well as a school board member.
Absolutely.
And then I'd just say lastly, I think a good school board member possesses good judgment. I think they have even temperaments, and they show a willingness to work collaboratively with others, recognizing that you're one of 9. And to me, I think both that those are qualities that I have proven to possess both in my professional and my personal life.
And have you done any volunteer for the schools that your children are at?
Oh yeah, I've always been an involved member. I've participated most recently the Radnor Post Prom, but I've served on committees, and then in the community at large. One of the things I'm proudest about is I was one of the founding members of the Radnor Residents for Gun Safety that really formed after the Parkland shooting, and we've been very active with local government to make sure we're keeping an eye on how to keep our children safe.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Bradley, I'll repeat the question for you. How is membership on the school board compatible with your past or present position or work-life experiences?
Thank you, AnnaMarie. Yeah. Public service isn't just compatible with my life. It's always been part of my life. I have a duty to serve, to bring whatever talents I can to do the best for my community. For a time, I worked in public service as an attorney for the federal judiciary, and then I volunteered in many different roles in the community when I was doing that kind of work. But when you're an attorney for the federal judiciary, you're not allowed to be involved with politics or elections in any way, because we want our judges to be independent. But I'm no longer in that position as an attorney, so now I have the opportunity to get involved in this particular kind of role in helping out Radnor schools to be the greatest that they can be. One thing that I have found in my work is I've done a lot of volunteering for education-related groups, but there's no better way to serve than as a school director in the schools where I grew up. I'm a product of Radnor schools. They've given me so much in my life, and now my children are in Radnor schools. So I have an opportunity to give back to the community that is my home.
Wonderful. Very good. And how have you or your wife been involved in any of the boards or anything at school, any of the volunteer positions?
Absolutely, yes. I've been an active member of the executive board of Radnor Elementary School, where two of my children serve currently. In fact, there were some discussions about whether I would take on a greater role this year, but I didn't want to create any potential conflict of interest with serving in an active leadership role on the PTO while also seeking school board candidacy. I think conflicts of interest are important, getting back to your question about whether what I'm doing now is compatible with my current position. And then also in my professional life, I should mention I am still practicing as an attorney, but I do that part-time as a litigator. So as a regular attendee of the school board regular business meetings, I've seen that it's really an incredible amount of work to serve in this position. And having been attending the meetings and following along with the policies that the school board's been enacting, I have a sense of how substantial that duty is. And I've set up my life so that I can go ahead and put the necessary energy forward in order to serve as an active member of the school board.
Okay, thank you. So second question, Liz, to you. What motivates you to want to become a school board member? And I think you've answered a little bit of that, so if you want to add anything to what you've already shared.
I'm not driven by any singular issue or a personal agenda. I think I have just always been a real big believer in the power of good, strong public schools. I think where school thrives, a community thrives, and the idea of being a part of future success of Radnor schools and is really motivating to me. And I mean that not just from, the success of, our high achievers or the success of the people who have some challenges, but I mean the success of all children. And the idea that I could be a part of that and I could, as Bradley said, public service, give back in that way to help move that to be the best we can be is very motivating to me.
Very good. And anything you want to add to that?
Now, what's good about my life has been what my parents have done for me. But what's also good about my life and what's good in me has come from what I experienced as a student in Radnor schools. I'm so thankful to the teachers I had at Radnor who helped prepare me for the successes that I had. And I want every student who attends Radnor schools to have the chance for their kind of success, whatever it looks like and whatever their goals are. So this motivates me because our community depends on leaders who will pay attention to what's going on in the schools and make sure that everything that is occurring that reflects the values of our community.
Absolutely. Anyone you want to give a shout out to? Any former teachers?
I am still in touch with my theater teacher from Radnor High School, Mary Ann Morgan. I was in the Radnor Actors Workshop for my entire 4-year time at Radnor High School, and it was one of the best things I ever did. I was not a shy or confident kid when I started at 9th grade, and I left going on stage in front of hundreds of my friends and family members.
And
it was a
here you
treasured
are
experience.
today, and it'll serve you well on the board, wouldn't it? So the third question I have for you. What do you think is expected of you once you are a board member?
Well, I mean, on the most basic level, I think, coming to meetings prepared and conducting myself in a respectful manner, a collaborative manner in which, is a positive reflection of the community I serve. But I think beyond that, and very importantly, it's that as an elected official, I think you always have to remember we are an elected official and we are entrusted to represent the values and the priorities of our community. And I think our responsibility is to recognize that we need to properly communicate and keep that open dialogue with the people who are constituents who elected us. And I think as part of your primary responsibility as a board member is to work with the superintendent to set, the vision and clear goals, and then to hold ourselves, the board members, our fellow board members, and the superintendent accountable for delivering on those goals.
Wonderful. And Bradley, I'll repeat the question for you. What do you think is expected of you as a school board member?
Deep down, most of all, you have to care. And you have to show that you care. And Liz certainly alluded to this with her answer too. That means you need to be actively engaged in the community. You need to be in the schools, not to micromanage, but to listen to teachers, listen to administrators about what's going on. You need to prepare for the meetings. Before every school board meeting, there's a packet of information, everything that's going to be before the board. And in my experience from attending these meetings, the meetings go a lot more smoothly when every board member is prepared. And when board members ask questions in good faith, having studied the material. That way, however you end up voting on the board, because as Liz said, you're only one of 9 members. You're not there to put forward your personal agenda. However you end up voting, you've done so as an informed board member. So that care and that passion has to shine through at every step you take as a school director.
And that leads me to probably our last question. We'll see how much time we have left, but who should set the rules governing board procedures and behavior for school board members, and who should enforce them? And if you need me to repeat the second part of the question, I will, but if you want to start with the first, that's great.
Well, I think as the board has a responsibility to set those rules and procedures, and I think we are responsible for following them. But I also think, again, we are elected officials. You know, the public and our constituents are also responsible for holding us to them. And the good news is, you know, we have. There are standards out there. I think a good board member also pays attention to what's going on in other, you know, best practices of other boards, what well-performing boards, what they do, and we can learn from them. In fact, myself and Bradley and actually all of our slate already participated in board training. And I think always kind of looking to how we can better ourselves and how we can create a very high bar for our conduct, and it will be beneficial and will produce better outcomes for us as a school district.
And thanks for answering it in all one fell swoop, so thank you. I'll repeat it for you, Bradley. Who should set the rules governing board procedures and behavior, and who should enforce them?
Well, as Liz said, we're accountable to the voters, but that begins with being accountable to ourselves. There is a PA school code to follow. There's federal law, there's state law. There are board policies that have already been set. Anyone who joins the board as a school director has to be familiar with all of those. And the voters, you know, will challenge us if we're not following our own guidelines and our own rules. But it's not just about the rules. It's about recognizing that being a school director is governance. It's not micromanaging the day-to-day duties of the superintendent. Rather, it's providing proper oversight, setting policy. And it's about having honest disagreement on the board based on being informed, rather than having disagreement or intemperate discussions. And so one thing I can say about the 5 candidates that are all running, Liz Duffy and I, but also Nancy Monahan and Jeff Jubal-Iro and Amy Goldman, who I hope will join you on the program as well.
They will be, yeah.
We do disagree. We have different ideas, but when we talk with each other, we do it in a collaborative way. Nobody acts like they know all of the answers. We work together to try to find common solutions, and I'm convinced that we'll all do that when we serve as school directors as well.
Wonderful. So in 30 seconds or less, what is your vision for education in our community?
Educational excellence for every student. I think that's, and when I say educational excellence, it's not just about academic performance. Radnor has always has done really well on that front, and I think we will hopefully continue to do. But I'm talking about creating an environment and nurturing an environment in which all students can be empowered with skills to be successful beyond their years at Radnor High School.
Wonderful.
I mean, in Radnor schools.
Good answer. Thank you. And Bradley, would you like me to repeat her?
I have the same answer.
Okay.
Radnor is the best, and it should be the best. But it should be the best for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter what your goals are, we want to help you achieve them when you're a student. That's our duty as school directors, to hire a superintendent that has that kind of vision and support them. One of the district goals right now is to challenge and support all students. So I agree with Ken Batchelor's vision in putting that goal forward. And as a school director, I would hope to continue that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here and for starting this series of interviews. I think it's so important to hear your voices and why you're running, so thanks for sharing. And we will be back next with the GOP candidates after this short break. Thank you.
Drop that baby.
We are back, and joining me now are two of the GOP candidates for Radnor Township School Board, Matt Mabe and incumbent Mike Miller. Mike and Matt, thank you so much for being here. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with you. Mike, you ready?
Yeah, I lost the coin toss.
All right. How is membership on the school board compatible with your past or present position or work-life experiences?
Well, I've been on the board for 4 years now, so it's pretty compatible with what I've been doing for the last 4 years. As most people know, I went to Radnor, graduated from Wayne Elementary, where I sent my kids, graduated from the old middle school, and graduated from Radnor High School in '93. As for being on the board, what I do for a living is I'm an investment banker and a claims processor for securities fraud litigation class actions. And I'm the only one on the school board right now that actually works in finance, which is important because one of the most important things we do is set a budget. But also I'm a parent of 2 girls that go to Radnor, which is very important to being on a school board when you have kids in the school or going to be in the school, because if you have kids that aren't in there yet, you're friends with other people who are sending their kids to school in a few years, so you're friends with all parents that are in the school, and all of my friends have kids in the school, and I hear about everything that's going on in the school from my friends' kids and my friends and grandparents, and but my professional experience and my experience being in Radnor, living in Radnor, working in Radnor, that's how I'm compatible with being on a school board, besides just the general requirements of being on a school board under state law. You have to be as a live owner resident and not working for the district.
Right.
I check all those boxes.
Thank you for the 4 years that you've already given to the board.
Yeah,
we appreciate it, and you've done a great job.
Yeah, it's
Matt,
a lot more than you think.
This question goes to you. Would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
How is membership on the school board compatible with your past or present position, work-life experiences?
Thanks. First, I'd like to just introduce myself and make sure that voters know who I am. I am relatively new to Radnor. My wife, Megan, and I moved here about 1 year ago, primarily, like a lot of young families, because of the schools. We have 2 young daughters, 4 and 2, and our oldest will be attending Radnor Elementary School starting in fall 2020. Also, my wife's family has deep roots in Radnor. Her father and aunts and uncles all attended and graduated from Radnor High. I work for a nonprofit organization called TAPS, where we care for the families of America's military fallen. I specifically am a director that focuses on supporting survivors of suicide loss. I'm also a veteran myself. I spent 6 years on active duty in the Army as an engineer officer, including 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, why does all of that make me a fit for the school board? First off, I'm a taxpayer like everyone else, and I care deeply about every tax dollar that I pay being spent wisely, responsibly, carefully, efficiently. I'm the son of 2 educators. My parents were college professors, so I understand the responsibility of teaching young people and shaping young minds, and also that it can be a thankless task very often. And above all, I understand what it's like to be a student these days. I recently did the math and figured out that I've spent about half of my life in the classroom. I attended public school, K through 12, back in Louisiana, where I was born and raised. I attended West Point and graduated there in 2002. And then I went on to 3 more years in graduate school. I had the fortune to spend 2 years at Harvard studying public policy and a year at Columbia in their journalism program. So I get the stressors, the rigors of academic life today for young people, and I think that I will be able to affect policy on the school board with compassion and real insight.
Thank you. Thank you both for those answers. Second question, Mike. What motivates you to want to stay on the school board?
Yeah, after the last
Continue.
4 years, it's like, did you really want to keep going? No. When I first got elected, when I first got approached to run by my wife, it was because the board was really not functioning as a board. I mean, the whole full-day kindergarten debate was raging at that point, and the majority of the people on the board were treating the public horribly, especially the parents that sent kids to Wayne. They were telling us the school was perfectly big enough to stuff full-day kindergarten in there, that magically we had to build an addition on it. So I ran to restore respect to the public from the school board, and also to make the board a fully functioning organization again, because it was not functioning as a school board should. I mean, if you go back and watch the tapes, every board meeting devolved into the screaming match. It was really bad. So then I got elected along with a couple of friends that ran, and Susan Michelson, Dave Falcone became the leadership on the board, and our board meetings now function, really well. We all get along, all 9 of us. It's really not a party thing anymore. And then we hired a new superintendent, Ken Batchelor, because Dr. Kelly decided to leave. And I want to stay on the school board to help Mr. Batchelor keep the schools going, and we've got a lot of good things that are going on, a lot of good projects that we've done. I'd like to help Ken maintain that and keep him here, because we've had a run of superintendents after 3 years. They leave, 3 years they leave. We'd like to keep Ken here for a long time. I've got 2 girls that are in the school, so I'd like to keep Radnor as good as the Radnor, or better than when I graduated in '93. And keep our taxes low, set the school up financially. We've got all these pensions that are, we owe the teachers these pensions, and along with all the other groups, we have 7 labor groups. I've negotiated every contract with every labor group we've had under Republican and Democrat board presidents. They've appointed me to negotiate these contracts. So to get the district on a sound financial footing for the long term, and to support our staff, and most importantly, it's all about the kids, to make sure the kids are getting the best education that they can.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm going to repeat the question, and you did give a lot of your answer before to this question, but if you'd like to elaborate, I'd appreciate it. Great,
No,
good.
he's full of good ideas.
So what motivates you to want to become a board member?
Above all, it's being a father to my children. Radnor schools are excellent, second to none in my opinion, and I want them to stay that way. But more than anything, I want for Radnor students what I want for my own kids, and that is that they grow up to be people of character, people who are prepared for the challenges and the possibilities of life after school, people who are proud of their community, people who love their country. I also feel that it is a civic duty for us to use our skills and background to do good and affect change in the community. I've dedicated my entire adult life to public service, and I want to continue to do that through this work. I think it's also important to serve as a role model for young people. I think often of that JFK quote, "If not us, then who?" And that's really relevant today more than ever.
Thank you. Mike, what do you think is expected of you, or what have you seen is expected of you as a school board member?
It's kind of a running joke with a few of us on the between Mr. Batchelor, the superintendent, and I, but to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. It's the Boy Scout law.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's the Boy Scout law. You get taught when you're a Boy
I'll
Scout
look
to
it
be
up.
able to recite it when you're, the 14 things at once. But yeah, it is to be respectful of the public, to be, competent in what you do, to not micromanage these people, to hire the best people, and give them the support that they need, and then let them run with it. You have to trust the people that you hire to do good things, but then verify it. But as a board member, it's to not, it's kind of this joke we had, board members behaving badly, to treat everybody with respect. You don't get treated with respect, from some quarters a lot of the times, but you can't take the bait.
To Matt, what do you think is expected of you as a school board member?
I think that voters expect directors on the school board to be earnest, to have backbone, and be principled in the policies they choose to vote for. I think that they expect them to set good examples, but I think more than anything, they expect them to execute their duties as the public servants that they are. I don't believe that the role of the school board is to be involved in the everyday detailed activities of the schools. I believe that the school board is a governing body that is elected to have wisdom and foresight to hire the right people, to hire and oversee a superintendent who runs things. And I also think it's important for the school board to pass a sensible budget as well. That's what the taxpayers need. That's what students and teachers deserve. So.
All right, thank you. And speaking of behavior, who do you think should set and govern those board procedures when it comes to behavior of school board?
Well,
And who should enforce that?
yeah, there's a set of, there's the school code, the Pennsylvania school code, which defines everything that goes on in the public school and private schools also to a lesser extent. They can get away with murder, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, there's minimum requirements for board members and public schools under the school code, but then amongst ourselves, like here in Radnor, we've got the policy manual, or the set of policies we have when you get on the board. When you get elected, they'll give you this 5-inch or 7-inch 3-ring binder with all the school board policies. It's kind of ridiculous how big it is. But a large section of that is the policies governing us, the school board. We come up with that. We set that. We write those. And then we are responsible for enforcing them. I mean, in the 4 years that I've been on the board, we've actually had 2 instances of us having to investigate ourselves and then, punishing ourselves. But it was kind of this thing that we had. I don't know how much I can actually talk about it because a lot of it's confidential. You're not allowed to talk about a lot of these things. That's one of the things on the board that, going back to your previous questions, was expected of you. People ask you questions all the time. I mean, as everybody knows, we fired a teacher, or a principal, the old middle school principal, and everybody comes up to you, why? What's going on? I heard this, that, and the other thing. Well, there's a lot of things you can't talk about, and the answer is, I can't talk about that, but I can tell you that didn't happen. Because,
Right.
the rumors that were coming around,
Yeah.
the rumors your kids were coming home with, I'm sure my kids were coming home
Yeah.
with, were kind of ridiculous. But governing yourselves,
So self-governance.
we govern ourselves, but then we also have to punish, quote unquote, punish ourselves. But, as I said at the end of one of these instances we had, it's, one board member wanted to punish another board member and teach a lesson. It's like, well,
I remember when all of that happened.
but it's like, what are we going to do? We're all 45-year-old people, 40-year-old people. We are who we are. And all it was going to do was just set in motion these chain of events that goes on and on and on and on and on, recrimination. So you try and talk to everybody as adults and have everybody behave like adults. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual board member to be mature about it and, not violate the policies that we have.
Well, thank you
because we can't, I'm not trying to cut you off, but you can't vote each other off the island.
Right,
We joked about it. So it's up to each individual board member to, act as an adult.
I understand that point, and it's very important to work together and try to solve it together without it
Yeah.
getting to be a publicity nightmare.
Yeah.
So I think you guys have done a good job dealing
We
with
try.
some of these issues. How would you like to respond to that question? Who should set the rules, board procedures for behavior on the school board?
I have to agree fundamentally with what Mike said, is that rules and procedures should be set by the board, but it should also be a self-guiding and self-policing body. Fortunately, we live in a democracy where voters are the ultimate arbiters of performance. And, it's their prerogative to choose how well we're doing. So.
Right. Well, thank you for your answers, and I hate to stop here, but we're running out of time. So once again, thank you so much for coming. I love hearing from both sides of the aisle, and wow, we have really great candidates to look forward to here. I want to thank our participants for this opportunity and remind voters that you have to get out and vote on November 5th. And keep watching to learn more about our candidates. Thank you very much.